steps and be patient with yourself, be kind with yourself, and really notice how you talk to yourself, because it will be reflected back to you. I think the outside world is sometimes it's like, oh my God, am I really doing that? But somewhere, yes, because otherwise I wouldn't be noticing it again. But I think it's time to, instead of focusing on the problem, is to focus on the solution. And that's a choice. But I just know I feel more freedom in looking for the solution than focusing on the problem. So it's really a feeling. Emotions are linked to thoughts, whereas feelings, in my experience, they're visceral. They come from the body's intuition, or through the body as intuition. Yeah.
Nice. So if you guys are just joining me, I've got Trilby Johnson, and you can find her at trilbyjohnsontheconnective.com. And she is the author of, and this is a newer book, I believe, for you, Fearlessly Alone. So I love how you describe what you call the lonely crisis. Tell me more about that and your book.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think for a long time, people, I know because I've been alone, or felt alone. I had felt alone a lot of my life. And I noticed people didn't talk about it, or when you mentioned, then they'd say, oh, find yourself someone, or it was just this kind of, no one really addressed this terrible feeling, so, and now, fortunately, the medical industry has started to, notice symptoms, and like now loneliness and chronic separation or isolation, have been linked to, medical issues like dementia, and early death and things like this. So what I love about it, it's really showing us the link that emotions have on our body. We're starting to see these physical symptoms, and being a holistic massage therapist as well, you can see it, because it's kind of like these phases. If you ask people in the health industry, like osteopaths or physiotherapists, and you can kind of see these waves of symptoms comes through, like when everybody started texting on their phone, people started to come with thumb problems, or tight jeans, and people were having circulatory or kidney problems because the jeans were too tight. High heel shoes is another one. So our bodies are talking to us all the time, and this, why I like questions too, and the breath, is because so many are disconnected from their body. And so this is also why it's important to feel the emotion, and be with it. And I think it's, I can't remember who said it, but the first step to changing anything is the awareness. And it's like, it doesn't mean you have to stay there. And I think a lot of people sometimes they're not aware that what they're feeling is lonely, and this is why I asked the question, because under a lot of the depression and, these other issues, is this feeling. And in the book, I explore why, this is a very old myth, that goes back probably to as far back as our culture extends, is this myth of separation. And I do think we're in a place now, we were talking earlier how amazing it is that we can connect halfway across the globe, and so there is this greater reach of connection, but at the same time, it's opening up a space, what is true connection? And I think connection is so important, it's how you connect the dots, and what dots are you connecting? And looking at socialization, how we've been socialized, and the one chapter is, what may be making you lonely, because I think a lot of people are on automatic pilot and they don't realize that what they feel in is an echo of something larger than them. And yes, we have individual choice, but we are also a part of a greater picture, and if we want to change that greater picture, then we do have to, I believe, start really tapping in and connecting with ourselves and choosing. I mean, a kind of reactive reaction would be, oh, well, no one wants to feel lonely. And yes, ultimately that's true, but are we taking responsibility for that? And again, it's not judging the emotions. I think there's periods of loneliness that you can have, or whatever, depression or whatever, but it's about looking, what's underneath that. And I think our bodies are great advisors in that, because they let us know when we're off,
Yeah,
because they show us, I mean,
definitely.
our bodies have a consciousness of their own. And a lot of people don't even realize that. It's when I ask people, where do you live? And most people say, oh, so, and they give an address, but our true home is our body.
Mm.
While we're alive, that's our first home. And so everything we put into it is important. And a lot of it is part of, socialization, and we don't have a say when we're young. So as adults, I think, we need to invest in what it is that's going through our educational systems, and what we put in our, how our food is grown. And this is a global kind of awakening at the moment. So it's just, I kind of help with releasing this why kind of factor. We don't need to know why. It's just, what do you want really, and focus on that.
So where is the best place for everyone to find your books?
Oh, cool. So they could probably order them if online. So Amazon. If they
Okay.
go to my website as well, there's under the tab books, they can order them there. Or if you have want to support your local bookshop, if you go in with the title, they can probably order it for you as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you've got a free gift for our listeners today. It's called Unlock Your Secret Weapon to Stress Release, De-Stress, Detox, Relax Audio Download. That sounds awesome. Are they going to be able to grab that on your website?
Yes, absolutely. When you arrive on the homepage, you'll see the sign up there. And yeah, like, I know there's so much information today. It does come down to applying so please listen to the audio. It does offer a different aspect to what is, a common thing.
Yeah, it's all about the
Yeah,
practice, isn't it? So you
it
said
is.
somewhere, so I'm hoping you are going to pick up on this next question. I want to know what you mean when you say how not to shoot the messenger. Do you know what is that about emotions?
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
for me, emotions are messengers. Because,
Okay.
people say, oh, anger's bad, or fear's bad, and we categorize what's a good or a bad emotion. But I found that they're all messengers.
Mm,
That's why, take a breath, stop, and ask what's really going on here, and allow the information to come through. We have to stop this reactive loop that keeps on going. It's about
yes.
um, changing the habits and choosing the ones we want to keep, and that's for today. I
Right.
think people think, a habit, you can make a new habit every day, and I think our we are changing that. Neuroplasticity shows that the brain can adapt really quickly. So, there's, and it's again just choosing. No, I'm okay. and sometimes the emotion is very strong. So really important lesson I've learned, because I used to be quite reactive, is really, like grandma said, or whoever said it, count to 10.
Yes.
And if 10 means count to 10 for 10 days, then do that. Get to that place where, because there's something under the messenger, under the emotion. And if you don't take the time to find out what that is, you will always be a slave to that emotion. And again, there's many triggers for anger. Again, there's generalization, anger, but there's many levels of anger. There's many levels of fear. And I talk about that in the book as well. Fear. What is fear? You ask someone, it's one word, but there's so many associations, so it's about interrupting that association in the brain with the emotion so that we can really understand what's underneath it.
Yes, that is fantastic. I'm going to repeat it. Take the time to understand what's underneath the emotion. That's a powerful tool. Oh my goodness.
And it could be another emotion. But
yes,
what I find is when you have, and that's what I call an aha moment, it's just there's a knowledge that comes through, because it's not a emotion, it's not a fear, it's a knowing that comes through, and you just know it. You can't prove it, but you just know it. You just know it.
mm-hmm.
And that's why we say, follow what feels right for you, because I don't know, there's nearly coming up to almost 8 billion people on the planet. That's how many options there are, and we're all unique, and yet we're being fed into this bottleneck. Well, I ain't going, so and that's freedom for me. It's like, or if I go, then it will be on my terms, and of a full knowing of who I am, and that it is a choice of what I want to do, not because somebody else told me.
Yeah, that's powerful.
So it's so important. And one of the biggest things, I mean, as you probably know, being a self-employed entrepreneur, it makes me laugh. People say, oh, so you have lots of time off. I say, well, no, actually I work more now than I did when I was in the office,
Yes.
But I just love that, like, I can take time off, when I want and how I want. And it gives you that space. Because I saw people are so busy. They're so busy being busy that they don't stop.
Busy being busy. Yes, they are.
And it's we have to stop, so that 9 to 5, it's a hamster wheel, and we all, a lot of us are still running on it. But that's changing, so that's good.
It is, and that is exciting. So tell everybody what you do when you're not out changing the world with your healing practice.
Is that possible? I love to spend time in nature. I just find there's an instant connection there, and observe what's going on around me. I've been a keen observer my whole life, and you can learn so much from just observing.
Yes.
And spending time with friends. The company you keep is really important. It's about being with people where there's a true exchange, and where you leave the conversation or the event and you think, you don't feel drained. And of course I like to write, so that's kind of, I don't like deadlines, because I'm a spontaneous writer. So sometimes I have the idea, but the actual inspiration doesn't come for a while, and I have to wait on that. And I've learned to be okay with that. So,
yeah.
But I suppose just enjoying being alive, and really applying what I know. And, we live on such an amazing planet. There's so much beauty around us. and enjoying that. And I spend time in my garden. I love to watch things grow. I'm not a great gardener, but I'm just fascinated by, how I pop something in